Right, hello everyone. Next part of our dramatisation. That is a dramatisation. Let's say me turning Dr. Dave Regis's openings book into a series of videos aimed at newer players and what they might be able to play in the opening. And this is our second look at the Scandinavian Defence. We had a little look at it last time. We've got 5 more games in this video. And the Scandinavian is, let's turn the lines off, is this defence. Without going too much into detail again, because I did it in the previous video, white can either play the very safe e5, which is okay, or more often than not, and what Dr. Dave is recommending, take the pawn. And in all of the games we're looking at, black recaptures immediately. As I said in the last video, if you're going to play this as white, you will need to just be aware the knight f6 is potentially a little bit annoying, but as long as you're prepared, you'll be absolutely fine. And d4 scores very, very highly for white. If you want something a little less usual, actually bishop b5 check scores quite highly for white as well. But d4 is fine, and just develop your pieces, be prepared for the bishop to come down here, and you block, blah, 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 blah. But that's not where we're going with this. What we are looking at in this is queen takes d5. And Dr. Dave's seems to be recommending, because knight c3, I say that because that is the move in most of the games, and pretty much all of the games that he gives in the book. And our first one today is from Bayern Bad Wiese in 2002, and we've got Naumann against Neubauer. Okay, well, I don't know those two players, but let's see how they got on. So in this position, obviously the knight is the knight move to c3 attacking the queen is what Dr. Dave's recommending. And traditionally there's 3 replies for black. There's 4, but 3. Queen a5 is very reasonable. Queen d8, I play the Scandinavian quite a bit, and I tend to play that, occasionally queen a5. And queen d6 is quite a modern idea. You will also occasionally, especially at junior level, I think, get queen to e5 check, which is, you can't refute it. It's not awful, but it is probably the rarest of the moves. But in any case, in this game, queen to a4 is played. Excuse me, queen to a4, queen to a5 is played, and d4 from white. And if you were watching the previous video, you'd have seen me having kittens a few times about the player of the black pieces putting the knight in the way of this pawn. In the Scandinavian, I think it's fair to say this pawn needs to go to one of these 2 squares at some point. And in this game, c6 is played quite correctly. And that gives the queen a chance to get out if need be. And it makes it very difficult for white to push this pawn forward to this square. And what black will usually do is put the bishop to one of these 2 squares and then play e6 and just try to prevent white ever getting this pawn break. Anyway, that's a bit more detail than we need in this. So it's bishop to c4 from white, bishop to f5, predictably from black, knight to f3, knight to f6. This is all normal developing moves. Knight to e5. This is a common move for white in the Scandinavian. It's quite annoying there. That knight can be quite strong because there's no easy way to get rid of it because there's no d pawn. E6, as predicted. And in this game, white plays g4, which is, I think it'll be the top engine move. And you're attacking the bishop with 2 pieces defending that pawn, and obviously the bishop and knight attacking it. So it's a perfectly safe move, but it is a bit risky because now if you castle this side, you've taken away some of your king defense. But anyway, black plays bishop to e4. It's got to go somewhere, and although the knight attacks, the other knight defends, are fine. And if we're getting really complicated, in the Scandinavian, you'll often find that black is actually quite happy to swap this bishop for a knight and then just put all their pawns or most of their pawns onto white squares. But let's not do deep strategy here. That's not the point of this book. F3, let's attack the bishop again. And of course it's defended. So fine, the bishop's got to go somewhere and it goes back here. Well, it couldn't be much more defended on that square, could it? Look at that, 4 different pieces defending the bishop. Bishop to d2 from white. And if you'd seen the first video, you'd realize that against this queen a5 idea, the bishop going here is a very common thing. Black's not scared yet. Bishop takes and knight takes. And this time the queen gets out of dodge. In the last video, we saw what happened if the queen gets trapped over here. And this is one of the reasons I recommend c6 or possibly c5, is so you can get the queen out of there before any of these nasty discovered attacks take place. So queen to c7, and at the minute, as you can see, pretty level. And I say the Scandinavian, very, very playable for both players. Queen e2 from white, knight b to d7 from black, just okay, nothing wrong with any of this, castles. And now black castles too. And okay, but the computer's not a huge, not a huge fan. And it's all to do with this square, because suddenly it's a little bit tricky. It looks ridiculous because nothing's attacking it, but nothing's defending this square. And white plays for it. So knight to e4, with the idea of going to g5. And black allows it. Black plays knight to the center of the board, which looks perfectly good. King to b1 from white. King to b8 from black, copying. And now we have a problem. And you can see the bar has crept up to +3, +2.7, +3.5 as the computer analyzes it goes higher. Because black hasn't stopped this. And how are you going to defend this pawn? So there's no piece that can actually defend it. There's no black piece that can be moved to defend it. So what you have to do instead is get this one out of the way so the queen defends. But now, knight to e5, and there's nothing you can do. This is going to die. And yeah, you know, at junior or beginner level, you're not going to resign the game because you've lost a pawn. But this is a strong tournament with two very, very strong players. And yeah, if you drop a pawn, carelessly drop a pawn, you're just going to resign. And the biggest threat here is knight takes pawn, and you're actually threatening both rooks. And of course, the knight defends that square, so you can't just take it. So actually, in the real game, black resigned at this point. And computer says near enough +4 to white, so that's why. Ouchie. But it must be said that up to here, just let the bar do its thing, up to here, the computer says black is perfectly happy with life. We're not going to play. I was just going to say, I would suggest bishop e7. The computer thinks you might want to try b5 because the white king's on this side, and maybe start throwing pawns down the board at the white king. But yeah, absolutely fine for black. So like a lot of the openings we're seeing here, they're perfectly okay, but they have poison in them if you are careless. All right, let's look at the second game today. And I think Dr. Dave is teasing me because I've no idea how I'm going to, excuse me, how I'm going to pronounce this name. Keskisarja and Pitkanen from Espoo. I'm not making this up, a place called Espoo. I don't know where it is. I'd guess from the names it might be Finland. Anyway, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I don't know, just guessing. But this tournament is 1998 and it's a 7-move game. What on earth happened here? So e4, d5, ed5, and queen takes d5. Knight to c3 is recommended by Dr. Dave, and queen a5 is played. And d4, fine. Knight to f6 is played. Move order wise, I think you're supposed to do these two moves first. So c6 and then bishop f5, usually occasionally bishop g4 if the knight knight won't go there if the knight comes out. But black's knight f6, I mean, it can't be bad, can it? How can it be bad to develop a piece? Bishop to c4 from white. Okay, fine. And now, unfortunately, knight to c6. Please don't play the Scandinavian as black and put your knight in front of this pawn. Pretty please. Yeah, bishop to d2. Here it is again, this same theme. And this is why, although queen a5 is fine, when I'm playing the Scandinavian, I tend to just take the queen straight back to d8. a6 from black. Yeah, I was just waiting for the bar to do what it did, which is leap up to the top, because this is just a nothing move. It's just a horrible mistake. I'm just going to go back here and just let you see the bar is saying, you know, if anything, after bishop d2, if black plays the right next move, they've got a slight advantage. But a6 is just a pointless waste of time. I assume that black may have thought it would stop the knight going here. I don't know. But it doesn't. And actually, on this occasion, the right move for white is not to put the knight there, but to put the knight here. And this uncovers an attack from the bishop to the queen. So black's obviously got to do something with the queen. And what? I mean, if you go to this square, knight takes, you just lose your queen. You can't go here because of the bishop. You can't go here because of the pawn. You can't go here because of the bishop. Obviously, these squares are out because, you know, okay. And if you go here, I'm assuming everyone knows we can't go to that square. If you go here, even if there's nothing better, you immediately walk into check and you just drop a rook. But there's probably actually something even better than that. Let's just have a little look. Does the computer find anything better than knight c7? Yeah, it wants to, it's saying you can put the bishop back first. Or you can play b3 and defend your own bishop and then do it. Yeah, look at that. But in any case, +8, +8, +8. So not good news if you're playing the black pieces. Okay, let's go to the next game. And we've got here Zrinjak and Vereshield. And this is played in 1998 in a place called Goch, G-O-C-H. Round 2, apparently. Where do you find all this stuff, Dr. Dave? Okay. E4, d5. E takes d5. Queen takes d5. Knight to c3, queen a5. All standard stuff, all perfectly okay. d4, knight to f6, bishop to d2, knight to c6. Oh, God, here we go again. Ah! Please don't block your c-pawn in the Scandinavian if you're playing as black. It's not good. Bishop to b5 from white. And bishop to g4 from black, attacking the queen, which looks, you know, black probably thought, well, after f3, I'll just move my bishop to the square it normally goes on. And now white can't develop their knight. Yeah, but the bar says there's a problem here. And so I will leave it for you to find the correct move for white here. If you wish to press pause and have a go. Otherwise, I'll resume in 3, 2, and 1. And the correct move is here, knight to d5. What? Why? Well, first of all, we've got this theme of bishop attacking queen again. So the knight's got out the way and the bishop's attacking the queen. So black's got to do something with their queen. The obvious move is queen takes bishop. But after knight here, check, black has to move and then knight takes queen. So it's obviously forking the queen and the king. So that's not a lot of use. But what else can black do? You can't go to here to defend this pawn because knight takes queen. And you've actually got literally no other squares that are safe, because here is no good. Here is no good. Any of these squares is obviously to do with the bishop. And here is no good either. So yeah, knight d5, game over, black resigns. One more, no, two more, sorry, for today, or for this video at least. And we're moving to a place called, oh, we're in France, Laragne, Hautelpe. So that's good. I speak French, so I can pronounce that one. Not so sure I can pronounce the player names, though. We've got Gelis against Wildermeersch. So, okay, I don't know either of these two. So let's see how they played. E4, d5. E takes d5. Queen takes d5. Knight to c3. And again, queen a5. Bishop to c4. Knight to f6. Queen to e2. Not saying it's great, but look at the logic for it is to put the queen on the same line as the king. C6 from black, good. Finally, we've got an opening where black can get the queen out if they need to. Knight to f3, and the very natural looking now, bishop to g4 from black, which looks like it should be absolutely fine, but it isn't. And the computer, you can see, is saying +3 and a bit, so white is doing well here. Just having a sip of my drink, sorry. And this is why. Bishop takes here. Now, I'm going to put the lines on here just to help us go through all this. But basically, if the king takes, you have knight here check. You can't, well, you can play queen takes knight, but it's rubbish because queen takes queen. And of course, if the king just moves, for example, here, knight takes, you've got your pawn back, and we're looking at plus plenty for white because knight takes, queen takes, and you know, this is a horror show. So that's absolutely fine. The other thing that you could try after bishop takes f7 is you could try running, but if you do, well, what's the point? You've really gained nothing. You've literally just given up a pawn, and you get nothing in return. So yeah, a very, very unpleasant move. Bishop takes. So let's just have a look. King takes. Is there anything else after knight e5? Can you put the king anywhere else? I mean, if king e8, you have exactly the same thing. Takes, takes, takes. And, you know, white's just a pawn up because there it is. There's one missing. With a nice position. And of course, black can't castle because the king has moved. You can't castle once you've moved your king. So yeah, that was pretty unpleasant. I've lost my pencil. I've been ticking the games off as I go along, and I can't find my pencil. Well, that's it. It's a disaster. The world has come to an end. Ah, there it is. Maybe the world hasn't come to an end after all. All right, one more game for this video. And we are where today? We're still in France. We're in no, we're not. We're in 2002 in the Val d'Isère. So we're staying in France. The French Championships as well, by the way. So these should be two good players, Debray and Filolo. All right, so here we go. 12-move game to finish this video. E4, D5. Oh, let's turn the lines off. ED5. Okay, Queen D5. Knight C3. And this time we have the slightly different variation. So we've got Queen D6. Okay, again, absolutely nothing wrong with this. Look at the computer. It'll say slight advantage to white, but it's playable. It's okay for black. Knight to F3, knight to F6, and D4. So just normal developing moves from both sides. Bishop to G4 from black. Bishop E3, all very normal stuff. E6. H3, I'm just looking at the bar, it's not really doing a lot. H3 attacks the bishop, and bishop H5. As a Scandinavian defense player, you can play bishop takes knight here, because then you can go queen here and just put your pawns on white squares. So I imagine bishop takes knight is probably okay. I'm curious now, I'm just going to interrupt this broadcast to see if it's fine. Yeah, it is. Computer's saying it's absolutely fine. But anyway, in our game, bishop h5 is played, and g4. White goes all out attack. Look at this. So really chasing this bishop around the board. Bishop to g6, because obviously you don't want to lose a piece. And then the typical white move in the Scandinavian defense to put the knight on e5. But nonetheless, oh, I keep doing that. It's very frustrating. Nonetheless, it's, you know, tiny advantage to white, bit of an advantage to white, but nothing dramatic, nothing you wouldn't expect from a typical opening. And then black does this. Really natural move with the idea of castling. What could be wrong? Well, knight b5 is a problem. It's a bit of a problem because it attacks the queen. It's still level though, still not an issue if black plays the correct next move. But in our game, the computer's just decided that it is actually a bit of an advantage to white. I was wondering why it was taking its time. In our game, queen to b6 is played because it's got to go somewhere. The queen is attacked, and it can't go there because of this knight. I wonder why the computer took so long there. I was just doubting myself for a minute. But the problem with b6 is, once again, we've got this idea of a discovered attack from the bishop. And white plays d5. To do exactly that. Black blocks with bishop to c5, but now after knight to c4 attacking the queen, black resigned the game. You've obviously got to try and save your queen, and let's have a look at why you can't save your queen. So the first thing is, if you go queen here, you're looking at knight to c7 check. King moves, you lose your queen. Knight takes queen. Okay, so that's not going to do it. Clearly, this square is no good because of the knight. This square is no good because of the pawn. This square is no good because of the knight. So you're only left with queen here. But the problem with that is, having been the victim of one discovered attack, you're now lined up to another one. And so you can play knight here check. Okay. And black will do something or the other to get out of check. Let's just say bishop takes. And now this bishop swoops in and wins the queen. And white's won a queen for just 2 pieces. So big advantage to white. And at master level or strong player level, you just resign at this point because, yeah, the player with the queen should win. Junior level, like that might make for quite an interesting game, actually. Two pieces for a queen could be quite interesting. But this was obviously the French national championship. So player with the black pieces resigns. All right, so we've got 5 more games to go with the Scandinavian, but I'm going to do them in a separate video to keep these things short and sweet. So I will be back soon with 5 more games for you. Hope this is all very, very useful. Thanks for watching.